Wondering what life is really like on Canada's wild and crazy West Coast? This podcast is all about the people, the places, and Vancouver Island time. Together, we'll explore this island paradise, a combination of ocean, city, and country living. We'll meet the fabulous locals such as the Fudge Fairy and the Chicken Lady, who have chosen Victoria and Vancouver Island as their home. And we'll learn what makes this place unique and special to those who live here. And now, your host of Vancouver Island Time, Jane Johnston.
Hi everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group at Remax Camosun and host of Vancouver Island Time. This week we're speaking with Carla Beer-Carpenter, who lives in the Oak Bay area, and we're going to be highlighting her business, which is Good Sense Nutrition. So first of all, let's talk about Oak Bay. How long have you lived in the area?
I've lived here since 2008. And the reason that I moved here was that it's very convenient, close to the bus routes, close to the schools. I had two teenage daughters that I didn't want to be having to drive here and there and everywhere while I was working full time. And so we've been here ever since, and we love it here.
So you're really close to a lot of amenities here. What's just down the street?
Well, there's a grocery store, there's Save On Foods, and I go there both coming and going from work because it's on my way to and from. There's our dentist is down the road. The school is right across the street, Oak Bay High. Willows, which is the elementary school in the area, is just about 2 blocks down the other way. And we also have access to some really great restaurants. There's the Penny Farthing Pub, which is about 2 blocks, maybe 5-minute walk. We have a Thai restaurant. We have a pizza restaurant. So everything is very convenient for us.
So where did you move from?
I was in Fernwood, so not very far.
And do you get a sense of community? You're on a quiet street here, just off the Oak Bay Junction. Do you find, do you guys do anything together as a community?
Yeah, every year they have a block party. There's the Oak Bay Local, which is the Facebook group, and neighbors are walking dogs every day. We have really great neighbors that are very helpful in keeping up with our comings and goings and letting us know if there's anything going on that we need to know. And everybody's friendly. And yes, it's definitely a very community-oriented street.
So for eating out in the area, so there's Pizza Prima Strada, right? And then beside that, what's that other place, a Thai?
That is the, up the street a bit, there's the Ban Thai, and then the Vietnamese restaurant. What is the name of that restaurant?
So what's your favorite food in those different, what do you recommend people order?
Well, in the Prima Strada, of course, they have really awesome pizzas. They have delicious meatballs. I always order the meatballs when I go there because they're the best ever. And in the Vietnamese restaurant, I like noodles. I like the pho, which is their soup. You can't really go wrong with anything there. Everything is delicious.
I find actually for the Pizza Prima Strada, I love their margarita pizza, but one of my friends loves their mushroom pizza. It's got, it's very rare to find thin crust pizza in Victoria.
It is, yes, yeah.
And it's what I do is I order pizza with a friend, and we get a salad, and then it's enough for 2 of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the meals are quite generous there, and it's very friendly there too. It's a real neighborhood place. I mean, people come from all over, but you do get a lot of people in the area. It's really great to be able to just walk to the restaurant, not to worry about parking or, whether you're going to have a glass of wine or 2 before you come home. So it's definitely on the top of my list.
So speaking of wine, there's also the liquor store there. Does it have a good selection at the junction?
Yes. There are several liquor stores. So there's the government liquor store, which is near the Save On Foods. So that's very close. It's called a boutique liquor store. So you can get some really amazing wines there. They have a very good sommelier. She chooses the wine and she's very helpful. And then there's Vessel, which is up at the junction. They have an excellent selection of beer, which is another one of my passions, craft beer. I love craft beer. And then if you walk down to down near Pure Vanilla Bakery, which is another one of my favorite places to go for coffee. There's a Liquor Plus there, so you really can't go wrong. And if you keep going on down that road towards Willows, there's a really excellent Italian restaurant called Padello, and that's really nice food, not fancy, not huge meal, but just really good food. Every time we've been there, the food and the service have been really good.
Is that in Estevan Village?
Yes. Yeah, right beside Village, which is also a really nice brunch place.
Yeah, that place is always packed.
It is always packed, and there's a reason, because the food is delicious there. Yeah, very popular.
Do you go to the fish and chip store there?
I haven't been, but every time I walk by there, even 2 days ago, I went for a walk and there were people lining up to get their fish and chips at 3:00 in the afternoon. So it must be pretty amazing.
The guy who owns it actually used to work with my husband, and so yeah, he's a real foodie.
Yeah, it's very popular too. Yeah, lovely location.
What about clothes shopping around here? I noticed there's some consignment stores on Fort Street. Any other places that you recommend for clothes shopping?
Well, Oak Bay Avenue has several boutique stores, and they have a variety of adult and children's clothes, which is nice because it's not that easy to find baby and children clothes. I have a few nieces and nephews, and 2 of the stores up there I go at least once every month or 2 to choose some gifts. And yes, there are consignment stores down on Fort Street, which is not very far. And there's also I believe there's another clothing store down in Estevan Village.
Yeah, and also they have some design stores too for interior, exterior Cala design, as well as other stores like Nest, I think, is on Oak Bay Avenue.
Yes. And then Bungalow, I believe, is it Bungalow, the name of the gift shop down in Estevan, which is a great place if you're looking for a housewarming gift or just something for a birthday. They have everything there.
So one of the things that a lot of people think about Oak Bay, erroneously, I think, is that it's filled with elderly people, but I find it very child friendly. So what are some of the activities, seasonal activities, that are available for people? Well, first of all, the Willows Elementary and Oak Bay are very popular schools because they have French, but also like they have the light up, the Christmas light up, they have Halloween, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very child friendly here. I think a lot of young families have moved into the area. On our street, there are at least 4 families with kids that aren't even in school yet. And yeah, there's the Oak Bay Rec Center, which is a great place, and it's right across the street from here. So they have a lot of children's programs there. We have the soccer field, and so the kids, you can see the little kids out there on Saturday mornings with their parents. And yeah, we have the Halloween pumpkins out at the municipality on Oak Bay Avenue. So it's definitely very child friendly. I think it's a nice mix. There's a mix of older people my age with kids who are grown up, and then people that have very young children and are the kids that are just starting in elementary. So I think it's a great mix, and it's very family centered. People are pet friendly here. It seems like every other person has a dog or a cat, and it's just very inviting. And the kids play out on the sidewalks here without really any worries. They're riding their little bikes up and down the sidewalk. So it's definitely very friendly, and not just, what they used to say, the tweed curtain doesn't seem to be stopping people from moving into the area. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they also have like seasonally. So you have the Oak Bay garage sale. Have you ever participated in that?
I did actually this year. Yeah. What's it called? Gargantuella or something like that. Yeah, they do that every year, and it's very popular. And it also allows you to get to know all your neighbors, because everybody in Oak Bay comes and looks at everybody else's stuff. So I actually met more of my neighbors during that than I had for some time. Yeah.
And then so they also have the Oak Bay Tea Party.
Yeah, and that's another thing. All the kids love it. Everybody goes, and that's in the beginning of June, I believe. And
yeah, down at Willows Beach.
Mm-hmm. Yep, down at Willows. They have live music. They have rides. They have lots of food. It's a great place to just see who your neighbors are. Everybody goes, and it's nice if you actually live in Oak Bay because you don't have to deal with the traffic. You just get to walk there and walk back.
And then also they have Halloween. So they actually close down the street, right?
I can't say to that because my kids are older, so I can't say. I know that we do get quite a lot of trick-or-treaters, though, every year. And it's often the really cute little ones that are barely walking with their little pumpkins, and they come up to the door and their parents stand at the end of the walk. So we always like to see what they have going. And then we have also the teenagers coming, and I always like to tell people, just if teenagers come by, then you should definitely, make a fuss about their costumes because there's so many other things they could be doing other than trick-or-treating. So I'm always happy to see the teenagers. It's nice to see, from baby right up till probably 16, 17 years old. Yeah.
They have a very avid sports program at Oak Bay. I know my daughter, who's a rower, rows against Oak Bay. Any other activities I know they have a music program, they have French, they have athletics. Anything else you know about Oak Bay?
I'm mostly familiar with the drama program because my stepson is involved in the drama. They have a brand new theater. It's a brand new school in the last few years, and their theater is amazing. So yeah, they have a great drama program. They have the soccer field there. They have football. They have, as you say, the French. It's a really great school. There's a great sense of community, lots of options for whatever your kid is interested in.
And they also run summer camps out of there. So my kids went, and they also have the tennis club there.
Yes, they have the tennis bubble, so you can play tennis all year round. Everything's kind of connected, so the rec center, the tennis, the school are all working together to ensure that everything you want is there. They even have, in the new high school, they have the neighborhood center, and so they have the after school program there. They also have some of the classes, some of the exercise classes are held there. So yeah, lots to offer in terms of activities for all ages.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate living in Oak Bay?
I'd say it's really a 10 to live in Oak Bay. I think from my point of view, I'm a city girl. I grew up in Halifax. I grew up in the city, and Oak Bay is a perfect for me in the city, but still lots of trees, lots of ocean, lots of scenery, and not a lot of traffic, but convenient to everything. So I would say a 10.
I find it a 10 too. Plus, I find, I don't know if it's true, but I was told by one of my buyers who moved into the area that the mayor comes and greets people when they move in.
That is absolutely true. When we moved here, the mayor then came to the door on a Sunday and dropped off our welcome package, and it was just amazing to me. Yeah, it was just amazing. Who else does that?
Well, my buyer was from Brussels, and he's like, this guy walked up to the house, and I was like, who the hell are you? And then it turns out it's the mayor. So he was quite enamored, actually. It is a really unique community, I find, and strong and supportive. So recently on the Oak Bay Local, they had people advertising each other's businesses, which I thought was good. Mm-hmm. And they're dealing with, issues. They're talking about it. And I find them very generous as well. Any other comments about Oak Bay you want to share?
No, just that you're right. It is very, very friendly, very active community. So they're politically active. They're engaged and involved in the decisions. So it's a great place to be if you want to be surrounded by people who are really interested in making it a good community and making it work for everybody.
So if you want more information about the Oak Bay area, you can contact me. I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. But stay tuned because we're going to be back. Carla's going to be talking to us about her business, Good Sense Nutrition. So we'll be right back after this message. Bye.
Vancouver Island Time is brought to you by the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun, Victoria, where we bring local expertise and global presence to your property.
Hi, everybody. It's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun and host of Vancouver Island Time. We're here with Carla Beer-Carpenter, who owns a business. She runs it out of Oak Bay called Good Sense Nutrition. So how did you're recently new to the entrepreneurship?
Yes. I've been a dietitian for almost 30 years. I've worked in a lot of different areas, but my main focus is weight management, emotional eating, and also kidney nutrition, because that's where I've spent a lot of my career. I recently took a position of part-time when I was full-time before, and decided that I would really be interested in helping people that are not in my niche of my job to work on having a more positive relationship with food. And so really what my focus has been in my ideal client is someone who maybe has been dieting for a long time, whether they're overweight or not overweight, but just somebody who has really struggled with the whole dieting thing, really not feeling comfortable with their relationship with food, to help them work on developing strategies to have a better relationship with food, to enjoy their food more, and also to be able to achieve their health goals if there are nutritional issues that are affecting that.
So is it men or women?
It's mostly women, but there are a few men as well. It's always a bit of a surprise when I get a man, because in my experience, and this is not to be sexist at all, because I'm not, but men tend to wait longer to get help. I think men, just socially, they're not encouraged to diet. It's more like, oh, you just got to work out more. And in fact, a lot of the male clients that I get have had really discouraging interactions with their doctors, who are just basically saying, oh man, you just got to go work out, just go work it off. That's really not a good way to lose weight. It doesn't actually work. And so by the time I get those people, they are feeling a little bit desperate and a little bit hopeless. So, my focus on them is, again, to help them realize that there are strategies for managing that, and it doesn't involve working out 3 hours a day, and it doesn't involve going on really restrictive diets that ruin your life. That's not what it is about.
How can a diet ruin your life?
Well, any kind of diet that limits your ability to get nutrition is going to be bad for you physically and also emotionally, because our emotional health depends a lot on having a good diet and having good nutrition and feeling good about what we're eating. Our relationship with food is very intricate and intimate and has been developed over our whole life. So if you're restricting yourself from foods that you really like, it isn't healthy for you, either emotionally or physically. The other thing with a very restricted diet is that people end up becoming more and more obsessive about what they're eating. And that, again, really can actually interfere with interpersonal relationships. If you are on a diet that's so strict that you can't go out to eat with your friends, that you can't go to a pub, that you can't go on a trip because your diet is so restrictive, then that to me is a big red flag. And that is something that I really try to help my clients work on, is how we can help them feel comfortable with what they're eating and achieve their health and weight goals without having to restrict so extremely that it's having that impact.
So how do you give them structure to achieve their goal?
My approach with all my clients is to first of all find out what they're doing. Everybody does something different, and I always am very respectful of whatever they're doing. So I'm not somebody that's like, oh no, that's not right, or you have to do it this way. I think there's all kinds of different ways. So what I like to do is find out what they're doing, and then collaboratively work with them to suggest possible strategies for evolving to a more comfortable or more effective way of eating. So that's really my approach. Sometimes people need more structure, but often they actually need less structure. They need help with listening to their bodies. They need help with understanding what the real triggers are for the uncomfortable type of eating, so that they can move towards dealing with those problems. So that, because a lot of time it's not really the food is the problem, but the real problem is how they're using the food. So.
Yeah, if it's to like assuage something that's going on in their life or whatever, it's an emotional response to eating.
Exactly. And that is a lot of the people that I see, and even people who have real health issues where diet would be helpful. changes would be helpful. They really struggle because they also have a huge sense of guilt and shame that they're not able to achieve these. When somebody who's diabetic and they can't maintain good blood sugars because they can't manage their diet, there's often a lot of guilt and shame around that. And so one of my goals is to really help people move away from that and recognize that, we all have our things, everybody has their thing. And so it's not a matter of just getting rid of that, it's a matter of thinking and looking at what other strategies or what other activities would help with whatever that food is trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Do you find when does a relationship with food start? The bad relationship with food? Because I remember my kids eating everything when they were children, and when they became teenagers, all of a sudden I call them food jags. So right now my son's having a food jag with pizza, and my daughter with popcorn. So what do you think about that?
I think that what starts to damage a relationship with food is anytime somebody else starts weighing in or trying to control the food. So basically, as parents, our responsibility is provide appropriate food choices, but the child or the teenager, it's their they have a choice of whether they eat a food or not. So a lot of the eating problems I see even in grown-ups have stemmed from, as children, having to be forced to eat foods they did not like, or being forced to eat at a time they did not want to eat. So it starts very early. And so one of the things that's important to recognize is that starting from very small, we should always have a choice of what we eat. We might not always have a choice, like if you're 2 years old and you want to eat cake every day for breakfast, maybe that is not something that your parents are comfortable with. But on the other side, they don't want to be forcing you to eat oatmeal if you really don't like oatmeal. So it starts at a very young age, and it's important as children go through different stages to recognize their autonomy around food, and to acknowledge that, they may have foods they don't like, or they may have foods they like better than other foods, and to recognize that.
That's interesting you say that, because when I went to university, I grew up, I was the fourth of 5 kids, and we basically had food available at the end of the day, like usually a big casserole or something, and we would feed ourselves. And my mom was working, and everybody was very busy, and I did a lot of sports and activities. So I'd come home and there'd be a meal there ready. I'd feed myself. And then when I got to university, I found all these people who were very structured in their meal planning with their parents, and they'd always eaten 3 meals a day. When they went to university, they gained the frosh 15 because all of a sudden they could eat whenever they wanted and whatever they wanted. And so they really the filter came off the mouth, and took a few years for them to get their weight back down. But it's really a lifestyle change too, right?
Yeah, and certainly university is often where teenagers or young adults struggle, because there is, first of all, a lot of freedom, but also sometimes not a lot of money, sometimes not a lot of time, not a lot of cooking skills. And so relying on, fast food or prepared food is one of the things that, that is a real struggle.
Canada Food Guide, good or bad?
I'm hoping they're going to redo it. I think it can be a good guideline. Personally, I don't really use it in my practice, and I get very upset when people say, oh, I saw a dietitian and she just gave me Canada's Food Guide, because I feel like it is a good tool, but it's just a tool. Most people need more than that to be able to eat healthy.
More than that in which way?
Well, more tailored approach, I think. If you're to the point where you're coming to see a dietitian, then Canada's Food Guide on its own is not helpful, because people have individual needs. Again, it's not really, in many cases, it's not even about knowing what to eat. It's about that relationship with food and how to make the right choices, or how to make the choices that are consistent with your goals.
And there's also something to be said about combining foods, right?
Yeah, certainly. I think always encourage as much variety as possible. That's the most important thing. If you're getting variety, you're enjoying your food, you're getting a lot of different nutrients, and that's definitely important.
what do you think of companies like Weight Watchers or Ideal Protein or companies like that? I mean, to me, they get into the business, and then somebody says, okay, well, they lose the weight, and then they get off the program, and the weight comes back on.
Yeah, certainly one thing that we know, and there's a lot of evidence to show it, is that diets just don't work. They don't work because, and I always say to people, well, what's your goal? Is your goal to lose weight, or is your goal to actually have more of a permanent weight stability? Because you can always lose weight. Most people can lose weight if they restrict. I do not like Ideal Protein at all. I don't think it's even an appropriate diet. Quite frankly, it's promoted by people who have no nutritional background. So of course I don't like that either, because I feel that any kind of diet modification, if you're going to do that, should be done with some nutrition knowledge. I like Weight Watchers better. That's very divisive with dietitians. Some dietitians don't. I like Weight Watchers only because I feel that they incorporate the whole behavior aspect. So they're not just saying, oh, you just eat this and you lose weight. We know anybody who works in weight management knows that's not how it goes. It's not about doing that thing for, 5 months and losing 30 pounds and then it's all good. It's about making changes in your lifestyle, about making changes in your relationship with food. And Weight Watchers does actually do a better job with that. But again, it's all about knowing that all those clients are going to be coming back to you later because they will have lost the weight. And then I've had so many clients tell me when I used to work in bariatrics that they went to Weight Watchers, they lost a lot of weight, and almost pretty much the second they fell off the program, they started gaining weight back at a ferocious rate and often more than what they had lost.
Mm-hmm. So they get into yo-yo dieting.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that I always tell my clients in that situation is that what you need to think about is when you lose weight, typically you're losing fat and muscle. Unless you're really focusing very hard on muscle maintenance, you're going to lose fat and muscle. But when you gain that weight back, you're going to only gain fat. It's not fat and muscle that comes back. So basically, if you yo-yo diet, every time you yo-yo diet, you're basically changing the ratio of fat to muscle to the worse. And so we really try to encourage people not to do yo-yo dieting, rather to focus on a realistic way of eating, optimize health. It's not always about weight loss. Sometimes it's about optimizing health and optimizing nutrition without trying to promote an unrealistic weight loss, and then allowing people to feel comfortable in that place.
The other thing I've noticed for myself anyway, as I've gotten more physically active over the past few years again, because I was extremely active till I had kids. And then when I stopped being so active, that's when the weight really came on for me, plus carrying 2 babies. But the is that it's easier to maintain my weight.
Yeah, absolutely. Exercise is important for so many reasons. It's been shown not to be an excellent weight loss tool, but some of the other things that exercise does that's so important is it does allow you to maintain more lean body mass, which is more metabolically active. So you're going to burn more calories if you have more muscle. The other thing that exercise is so important for is for emotional stability. So what we call mood stabilization. So particularly if you're somebody who tends to eat, if you're cooped up in the house, like a lot of women who gain weight after babies, it's basically because their lifestyle has been changed dramatically. If you're eating and you're feeling overwhelmed, exercise is a great cure for that, or a great treatment for that. So definitely, yeah.
I used to stick my son in my backpack and walk with him every second day. And then when my daughter was born, I'd stick her on the front and him on the back. And eventually, when they both started to walk, then my walking was curtailed because it was so much slower.
So much slower, yeah. Yeah, you learn a lot of patience when you have little kids.
Okay, well, thank you so much for giving us insight into your business. And, I could talk actually probably for another 45 minutes.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it, Jane.
No problem. How do people get in touch with you?
I have a website, so www.goodsensenutrition.ca. That's probably the best way. And then when you go on there, you can get my phone number, you can get my email. So that's probably the best.
Okay, and are you on social media?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I have a page. My Instagram tag is Good Sense Foodie with a Y, and my Facebook page is Good Sense Nutrition.
Okay, so if you're interested in knowing more about maintaining your health through good nutrition, talk to Carla. If you're interested in knowing more about the Oak Bay area, contact me. I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at RE/MAX Camosun and host of Vancouver Island Time. We'd love for you to come and be a guest on our show. And how do you do that? Go to vancouverislandtime.com, click on Be a Guest at the bottom, and fill in the information. Take care and have a great day. Bye.
Welcome to the neighborhood. We hope you have had some insight into West Coast living. If you know of someone or someplace that should be highlighted in our podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Please go to vancouverislandtime.com and click on our Connect button. See you next week on Vancouver Island Time with Jane Johnston.